Over months to get the horse shorter, taller, rounder, and stuff towards collection. And I found that especially didn't work on thoroughbreds. They just got more wild-eyed and paralyzed. And so at the time I thought, well, I wish I were rich and I could have a warm blood, because in my youth, only a few rich people had warm bloods. Now everybody's got a few. So in later years, I decided that was probably a big advantage for me, because thoroughbreds won't let you bully them like warm bloods will sometimes. And so I had to figure out things like this. Plus, thoroughbreds are mostly horizontal in balance. They're bred for speed, not for collecting. I had to figure out ways. And this is something I figured out early on, pretty early on. Not early enough, but pretty early on. Okay, a little something lateral you wanted to do. Did that give you tools, though, to play at the canter?
Yeah, totally.
All right, over days and weeks, you can say lifties to half that speed. Not trot, you clunk. Canter on, we'll try it again. Ups-a-daisy give, ups-a-daisy, like that. Once you press them beyond 3 or 4 strides, when it's not something that's easy for them or that occurs to them easily up here, then they become either disgruntled or despairing. They just wipe out everything and just crash on. So I do it, maybe on a circle, I'll do it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Say ups-a-daisy, daisy, that's all right. Another time, that's all right. Then, when they understand it, I can ask for it to last longer. All right, lateral something you wanted. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got time.
Yeah.
Walk, trot.
Whatever you want, whatever plagues you the most. Uh-oh, that was this.
I don't think she caught that.
Huh?
I don't think she caught that comment.
In the same in trot, if he's pressing against you, lift him into your solar plexus and release. Both hands, pinkies together. So, let's say you're trying leg yield and he twists his neck and throws his chest and shoulders down. Put your pinky fingers together and wait for him to align himself between your pinky fingers. At first, it will feel hopeless. No, don't bend his neck on purpose. Yeah. Better. So, as a personality, he's a bit piggy when you push on him.
He's a what?
A bit piggy when you push on him. So it's very important that if you're going to use if you're going to use noticeable leg aid, we'll say, make sure it's very brief and it isn't canceled by how much you hang in his face. That's better.
Going towards the
Pinkies together. That prevents you from doing the worst stuff. And then, if he insists upon twisting his neck like that, just bring his shoulders up and straighten his neck in front of the withers with your pinky fingers together. The big temptation is to crank his neck harder and bash him harder. Good. Now that way. Don't cross your hands. No. So you did this, huh? Good boy. The least important thing is for him to keep the gait. So, I have what I call a short list for every trick. The short list is the several things that define or characterize that exercise. Okay, then the long list is all the dressage stuff. Is it energetic enough? Is it on the bit? and blah, blah, blah. That goes on forever. So, for this kind of leg yielding, the defining characteristics are the parallelism of the body to the long axis of the ring and the sideways steps. But for the problem you have with him, we're going to add something by plucking it out of the long list. It should be a given, but it isn't, clearly isn't. And that is alignment. Alignment means neck, spine to the rest of the body spine. That is number one. So, when you have a list, whether it's a list of 80 things or 2 things, you must always also think of it in terms of prioritization of issues. So you don't have my list, but on my list it starts recognition. That means, do you know what's gone to hell? Second is separation of issues. How many things are going wrong? Third is prioritization of issues. So separation could be, oh, he tilts his head. Oh, he is too heavy in hand. Oh, he won't keep going. Oh, he needs to be more. It goes on forever. The short list, you start by saying, if nothing else happens, gosh darn it, you are going to keep your neck and your body spine in the same line. If that works, you are going to keep that whole line parallel to the ring axis, the fence, the midline, whatever. If that works, you are going to go sideways, horsey. But if you lose alignment, screw the sideways. It's a waste of effort. It's a battle that I'm going to lose. And way lower than that somewhere is keep the gait. And most everybody puts keep the gait first and sideways second, even if the horse is a pretzel. So do it in walk, because he has problems in trot, or you do, or both of you do. And you're going to do it that way. You're going to say, keep the neck straight in front of the body. That's what the pinkies together is about. If he goes sideways, fine. If not, fine. If he's a pill, oh well. Okay. I wouldn't be very quick to tap him with a whip. I know it's tempting. I would sit there and say, and when you wear yourself out mentally, pal, good. So if he gets noxious and pharaohish and starts reary things, first thing I would do is put my hands together to prevent myself from doing this kind of stuff, and then I would wait and say, useless, but you're welcome. Good boy. And now back the other way. No great hurry. Pinkies together and his crest of neck precisely centered between your pinkies. If he throws his shoulder over too far, you raise him a little. Yeah, your hands are off center. Once you start doing this, you have fallen into his trap. All right, we leave him. But I do think, since that's the first time I saw him do that trick of hopping up and down, I was always taught that if a horse is balky, which people might think of that, give him hell. And sometimes that's good advice. But sometimes that is the horse going, and that's a personality of the horse issue. There is no escape route from this horrible session. And then they start leaping, and then we bash them, and they go, yep, I knew it. It gets even worse. So most of the time, when I have a horse that gives me that kind of crap, I make sure I have my pinky fingers together, that I keep my hands centered in front of the withers, and say, I'm waiting, and you're being an ass, and I'm still waiting. Because his little version of rearing wasn't very bad in terms of dangerous.
Yeah.
So you can afford to wait. And it's very important. You don't have a problem with this, but it's important that you stay back. So what you mostly see people do when a horse operates naughtily like that is they get forward, they start doing this stuff, and then they start flailing with the legs and flailing with the whip. It's a terrible plan. So if I have a horse that does that, my first approach, for several reasons, is I go, I am waiting. And usually they go, well, screw it, I'm leaving. And I do that for two reasons. It teaches them the uselessness of such behavior. It also, especially as I got old, it also is much safer. Because if you're jabbing at them and all the stuff I was taught to do, wrench them around and whip them and stuff, they can go stupid, run to the barn. They can go over backwards, which I really hate. And so I just sit there and say, and when you die of old age, Pumpkin, I'll still be looking just the same. And usually when I do that, they thrash and fume and carry on, especially if there's been a relationship of, I'm going to bash you and you're going to be a pill. It takes a little bit, and I let them back up.
Okay.
And the reason I let them back up is about the nature of horses. Horses in nature do not like to back up. You will never see a horse backing across a pasture to find a better chunk of grass. So they back up to escape something, and I say, you may back up, but you may not successfully back out from under my posture, my center of mass. And they back, some of them very, and pretty soon they go, this isn't what I do for fun, and it isn't working toward any purpose, hell with it. And they just walk off. I don't use leg. They just walk off. If they decide to stop and they stand there forever waiting for room service or something, then I might poke them with a leg and say, go. And if you want to back up and be an ass again, do that as well. But I'm going to be here, not like that. So that's my best advice for you about the behavioral issue. That and the leading rein for the runaway sideways issue.
Yeah.
All right, does that help?
Yeah, that little thing is going to help a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we get desperate and we go, God darn it, you're going to get over there if it kills both of us. And instead I say, well, go ahead and be like that. See where it gets you. You're entirely welcome and it will work. That's always the best way to train horses, is to let them try stuff. So my whole theory about training horses is experimentation is encouraged. And that way it's very easy. I can say, that experiment will get you nowhere. That experiment will get you bashed. And that experiment is worth pursuing. And then they begin to go, oh, you mean like think?
Yeah, those little things help, because the hardest thing I had with him was getting him to experiment with me. Like, I like riding hotter horses. The next one's a little bit hotter. And this one's so kind of dull to things. I feel like I have to get through to him to get his mind thinking and asking me questions. I feel like I have to
Yeah.
get around. I'm like, God, you're just like a lump of meat. So,
They can do that. They can be like that. And sometimes that's just because this is a personality issue. They're not very good experimenters.
yeah.
So most people say, oh, this is a really stupid horse, or a really rotten horse, or a really bad horse. And I get on it and I think, oh, it's just a non-experimenter.
Yeah, no, he's smart. It's just, like, yeah.
He's a
He just
non-experimenter.
He's, like, so steady, and I'm not used to a horse that's, like, you put him to work and he's like, okay, now I'm going to stay doing this for a long time.
He may have had that installed too.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah.
So that's again what I get when horses come to me from Europe, is there's no experiment. They just go clunk, headset, I was draw rein for a monk. Oh. And I say, do anything. Within reason.
Yeah, his only experiment is God made his butt. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not a good one.
That's
not
not
a
the
good
best
one.
one. Not the best one. All right, jolly good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That should